just say I do.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Behind the Veil, a show that provides insight into the world of people and events, and weddings, of course. I'm your host, Keith Willard. Welcome back to the show. Today, I'm coming to you literally live from the Embassy Suites by Hilton at the West Palm. So I'm a little bit on the go, a little bit on the frazzle. So, don't have my normal lighting and hair color and what have you. So we're all kind of getting ready for the big knot event, which is the Wedding Pro event that's happening at the PGA tomorrow here in West Palm Beach. So forgive some of the little back and forth. But let me just tell you, today was a perfect example of why I need our guest in my life. And before I even bring her up, let me bring on my co-host, Marcy Gutenberg, with An Affair to Remember by Marcy, so we can talk about it a little bit.
Hello.
Hi. So I was telling you offline, like literally got here, waited 2 hours for my room, was trying to set up the podcast in one area or the other. And I really thought, man, I need somebody like our guest in my life today because I need a luxury lifestyle concierge, man. That would have made my whole life different.
Oh, that would have been the world, right?
Right? It would have been awesome. It would have been amazing. But yes. I'm assuming Shauna does more than that.
Absolutely. I mean,
right?
Her repertoire is just like impeccable.
It's
really
mind-blowing. It really is mind-blowing. Yes. So let's bring on Shauna. Shauna, welcome to the show. As I bring you on to say, hey, Shauna.
Hi, Shauna.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being part of the show. We're so happy that you were able to be a part of it, even with all the little back and forth that we've been trying to do today. It's excellent to hear from you. And where are you calling from? Because I remember us talking a little offline that you were actually going to be coming to the same Wedding Pro thing that we're going to.
Yes, and I'm excited. I'm actually looking forward to it. I don't know why I didn't think of this when we spoke last week to ask if you were going. I mean, it makes total sense. I am in Florida.
Well, we could have done this together. We all could have
got together.
I know, I didn't think of that. Right? That would make total sense. No, I am actually in Delray, Boca area of Florida, where I work, live, but my business is also international. But definitely I could have met you at the location.
Right? Well, tell us a little bit about you and about your company, because, we know that this is a luxury lifestyle concierge. Sounds super fancy. Of course, I'm assuming that everybody hears that and goes, oh, wouldn't that be amazing? But really, what is a luxury lifestyle concierge? And then how did you get into this?
So I'll tell you a little bit about me at first. I grew up in Jamaica. Yep. I'm sure you heard the accent somewhere along the line. And I came to the US. I did university, did my master's, and I've been here since. Wow. So I'm a bit of both worlds. Yes, I do get that question quite a bit. People seem to be overwhelmed when they hear concierge. They're often intimidated, which is odd, right? Because you have, because you have concierge at every single hotel. People, even those that stay at a really nice hotel, a 5-star hotel, often don't use the service of a concierge. So it's a lifestyle concierge that is a very tailored, personalized service. We, for example, specialize in areas of curated travel experience. If you wanted to charter a boat, a plane, private security, not to leave anyone out. If you wanted just restaurant reservations or you wanted just to plan a family getaway, I work with everyone. It's from individuals to family members, and it's a very tailored, unique service.
Well, it reminds me a little bit like if it's nice when you go to a hotel that knows you because they know already your likes and dislikes, etc. Right. And then if you're used to using that concierge that's at that hotel, they also keep kind of a record of your likes, dislikes, and things so that they tailor their experience. Correct. It would be incredible to have somebody that was with you your whole time, not just when you travel. So they really do get a well-rounded view of the things that you enjoy. So like if a concert's coming into town and you get word of it before they do, you can be like, hey, guess what? I heard that Taylor Swift is coming to town and nobody knows about it yet. Is it that kind of thing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's, each client is different. It's not like a standard service level across the board because it's so personalized. It's to help create extraordinary experiences, whatever luxury means to each person. Because remember, luxury doesn't necessarily mean money. It could be luxury of time, it could be traveling, it could be access to things. Ultimately, it's access to an extraordinary lifestyle, and I help to create this. And you're correct. In building a relationship, there are things that I can help to put in place. I may get insights as to what kind of music you like, what kind of food you like. If you're into cars and there's a Formula One coming up, if you're into fashion shows, I basically personalize your lifestyle. So think of me, if you had to think of like an app, that a one-stop shop. You have a glorified personal assistant, which I don't really like saying so much because it sounds so
I get it. You're not taking notes and you're not sending faxes. I get it.
It's more of an experience working with me. So it's like a travel agent combined with a glorified personal assistant combined with a close friend. I create these extraordinary experiences for you. I make it super intimate. I pay attention to a lot of detail, and I plan your lifestyle around all of that based on what is important to you.
It reminds me a lot of what like Amex, when, if you're a black card holder of Amex, they have a similar service that isn't so tailored because obviously they work, the concierge works for Amex. So their boss is Amex. This is like taking that level and going one step closer so that you're beholden to them only. You don't have another company. You are the company. And so it just feels like it's super exclusive, super tailored, super personal on all different levels. Like you would then learn like their birth dates and anniversaries and things and keep them ahead of the things that they would forget. Right. Absolutely. It's an elevated service level. Yes.
American Express does an awesome job. What separates me, again, it's a more personalized scenario because it's a one-on-one. I'm not just dealing with a black card client. I'm dealing with an individual, and I create, again, I always say to work with me is an experience. To be a friend of mine is a privilege. Because I think so. I offer so much. I would consider myself the luxury matchmaker. So I pay close attention to what your definition of luxury is. And I match that, with your desires. I make it happen. I make it seamless. It's almost as if I'm not there as well. I don't want to burden my clients. I'm not calling you 24/7s. You give me the task or whatever it is that you're looking for, and I make it happen seamlessly. So in your case with today, going to the hotel, the room would have already been ready. I would have had the arrival time. You would have been checked in, possibly ahead of time, everything set up, all your equipment set up, ready to go, waiting for you just to sit in your seat and do what you wanted to do.
So why this? Why did you decide that, because obviously the hospitality industry is so varied and we all love the hospitality industry. We wouldn't do it unless we absolutely loved it.
Correct.
But this seems very specific. Like, were you a concierge in the past, or did you have some type of like aha moment that you went, that's what I need to be doing?
I actually did have the aha moment. My background is in my bachelor's is in political science, nothing related to this. My master's is in business. I actually wanted to become an attorney initially, and then I decided to venture out into the financial world, which has a lot to do with privacy, security, attention to detail. And I found that being in that industry, I always enjoyed doing the research. I got carried away in the details of things. I was a stickler for following up, great attention to detail, which I think was my strong suit.
Right.
And I dabbled in the Lifestyle Concierge on the side before actually making it official. And I realized that it was actually in conversation that it came up, and I was like, these are my strengths. I should really kind of navigate towards this, and then became Dolce Vita. And I absolutely enjoy it.
So what did your parents think? I mean, what did your family think? Let's say family. What did your family think when they said, you know, let me throw away my master's degree and all that stuff, which you didn't, obviously. You're using it every day of your life. But let me just throw off my career path that I was on. And now I'm going to open a business and I'm going to be a concierge. I mean, I'm sure that got a couple of like nods. Like, what? Because now that you've explained it, of course, I'm like, well, yeah, it totally makes sense. But, you know, if you just said, oh, I'm going to go be a concierge, I mean, the visions that come up.
I don't think anybody was totally surprised. I'll tell you something. I think, and I was just thinking about this last week, I was destined to do this. And I'll tell you why. At 6 or 7 years old, I don't know if I've shared this story publicly before, but at 6 or 7 years old, I remember being at my grandmother's house. And back then we would go and visit her in the summer or just for a weekend. And she was a very, very involved grandmother. And so we were doing things together constantly. And she decided she had this, I think it's called credenza, that thing that with all the china and all the crystals. And so we were cleaning, again, I was 6 or 7 years old, and we were cleaning her china and crystals. And I remember turning to her, and I remember this saying, listen, when you die, don't leave any of this for your kids because they won't be able to appreciate it. I want those drapes, the dining table, and all the crystals. And years later, like when I apologized to her, I was like, what did you think when I was that age? And I said that out, like, what was I thinking? Who at 6 or 7 years old is thinking about drapes, crystals? And literally that was me. And I have been that way ever since. I always thought big. I never thought anything was impossible. I was always persistent as a kid, determined. I was an old soul. So it just ties back in. There's not one scenario that I can't think of that ties me back to my childhood. I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I had an affinity for luxury all along. I could easily identify it even as a child. You know, I could give more embarrassing scenarios, but yeah, that was me.
That's
that
pretty
was the beginning
fantastic.
of your curation. That was it. It was your curation.
Yeah, and my experiences didn't stop there. Even as a kid, having presentation was everything for me as well. Even having dinner, I wanted to set the table and it be a certain way. And that sounds so obnoxious, so forgive me for anybody.
No.
I don't know. But it really was. That's who I am and who I was as a child. And so I think my friends, everybody around, they know that. You know, I have a friend one of my best friends in Doral. When I would go to visit, she got married very young. She got this beautiful china set. And she tells me, you're the only person that really appreciates it. So every time I'm coming down to visit, she pulls the china out and there we are, even like really young. Like people would probably laugh at us, like, what do you know about China? You know, we're like having tea and something to eat and we're eating out of China, drinking, you know, it's just our thing. So
I love that. I love that. I mean, there's a show called The Swedish Something Dealers, and basically that's what they do for end of life is they come in, they clear everything out, they get your home into order. So it's funny because you were onto something that is now a really, really big deal. Like Sweden, that's a thing for them. That is a big industry in their area. But I mean, I like the fact that you focus more on the life versus the afterlife. So that's nice.
Right.
But so how would somebody start? Like, you know, because always the beginning always feels a little trepidatious, right? You know, it's like, okay, I think I want this. I think it would be really great, but how do I reach out? What are the initial conversations like? Can you give us a little?
You mean from a client perspective?
Yeah, from a client perspective.
Like let's say that somebody wanted to go away on a weekend somewhere and they needed clothing and they needed dinner reservations, they needed airfare or whatever. What is the process?
Yes.
Okay. So I am my service is something that I guess my business is not something that everybody will think off the top. It's not like easily thought of. So it's kind of something that I would have to, you don't know you need it until you hear about it in most cases. So people don't think, oh, I need a concierge to help me. There's this one-stop shop kind of service level that can do everything from start to finish, booking the tickets, getting the hotels, just having a seamless, they don't know. An affluent person that has a personal assistant might have access to that. but then the personal assistant might also have limitations if they're going to Europe, for example, or they're going to the Caribbean.
Right.
How it would pretty much start is if someone were to contact me, or I met someone that had the desire to travel or have reservations, then a conversation would start. And based on their needs, I would say, oh, I can do this, or I can help you with that. Or, you know, it's really through getting to know that person and understanding what their needs are, because it's so tailored. And I have a list of services, but they're not limited to just that. I rarely say no to my clients. I actually don't say no. I feel like if you're committing to providing service level, then it should be all the way through. And
I'm the same way. I am totally the same way. I cannot say no. It's the worst quality I think I have, and the strength. But you know, I always try to figure it out. No matter what, there's going to be a solution. I can probably figure.
There's always a way. There's, as long as it's legal and within limitations, there's always. I don't take no, and I'm always representing my clients. So there's no leverage. It's all about the client, and it doesn't matter high net worth, a single mom. It's all the same treatment across the board.
Oh my God, you just reminded me of TV show. What was that show that they? Oh my God, now I can't think of the show. I'll think of it in a little bit, but that it was very kind of that similar thing. Like no matter what, you make sure it is taken care of and that you handle it, and that their lives, they can just focus on what they need to focus on, knowing that the details are taken taken care of. It's almost like you're a wedding planner for their life.
Right. It's like one-stop shop. I think when I think of an app, like, you know, that you could do every single thing in, that's me. And even though I don't plan weddings, I would then reach out to someone like you to say, hey, I have this client, you know, you're a vetted vendor, your quality or service level is the same as Dolce Vita. Let's work on this together. So I don't just leave my clients, even if it's something that I don't handle. I do the due diligence, the homework, and I make it happen. And again, a seamless, you know, the client is not bothered with all the different details, and they just show up and they enjoy their time.
So I have a weird question. So because you are helping clients get things that they, you know, I don't want to say get things, that you're taking care of basically their social world, right? Making sure that they get into the right restaurants, into the right locations, get introduced to the right people. You ever have an instance where it's so tight? And I'll give you a perfect example. There's a show on Netflix right now called like Playa del Palm Beach or something like that. It's a super, super exclusive club, and it's very difficult to get in, and you have to have like 3 signatures and all that good stuff. Have you run into that kind of situation? And then, you know, how do you then handle it? Do you then do all the background work for them and say, okay, look, here's all the information, and this is what we need to make sure you're able to be a part of this? I mean, it's kind of out there.
No, it's not. No, because you do have some cases. Listen, I would love to be able to make miracles happen, but it's not always possible. However, I do have specific vendors that I do work with that have the same service level. We share the same core values. And so in an instance like that, where I myself cannot have access to it, I still am holding on, because I need to see it through to the end. I don't just pass my clients on, but I will work with someone else to make it happen. You know, if there's a hard to impossible ticket to get or access to an event, as you're mentioning,
yes,
you know, it gets me excited, because it then becomes a challenge, and then I have to really do an extra, you know, step to get this done. And I can get creative. We have, again, several vendors that we partner with that also have, you know, the same abilities or even more. So we make it happen.
Love it. I mean, your network must be crazy. Sorry, go ahead, Mary.
And I don't connect. I don't commit to something, even if, because I've had cases where for charities, for example, I've donated services, or I have given complimentary services, and those are technically free for that person. The service level is the same. It's the service at the end of the day, because it's not about the money. It's about building relationships. And I am my brand. I represent my brand at all times. And so it's important that I deliver always. No excuses. I could be sick, crawling on the ground. I'm going to make it happen. I'm not going to call the client till I'm not feeling. No, it's going to happen.
I've been there.
So
Marcy, you had a question?
Yes, when you're procuring a product or a service for somebody, and you know what they're looking for, you know who you want to work with and such, do you do all the arranging, or is it that you work with them with the third party?
That's a very good question. It depends on the service. For example, so most things I am hands-on with, but in the case of, let's say, a wedding, I would work with a vendor along with the client, and I'm very transparent. I'm not gonna, have the client thinking that it's one way when it's not. So I'm very transparent about that. But I do work with other vendors because there are some services that I don't specifically carry or handle, but for the others, I do hands-on myself. If my client is traveling, I had, from time to time, I'll have groups traveling internationally, and I'm also internationally. I'm traveling as well most of the time, quite a bit throughout the year. So in a case where I have quite a few big groups, I want to be on site. I want to be not visible to the client, but just in case something happens, I'm on the same time zone. I want to be 10 steps ahead of them.
Yeah.
I always plan for what should happen and just what shouldn't happen. So I'm prepared either way.
It could happen.
Worst case scenario.
Yeah, you've got an intensity about you that I just love when it comes to your customers or your clients. I don't even want to say customers. It's a horrible word for it. Client said that almost like a mama bear protective kind of vibe to it. It's like, my job is to guard you, keep you safe, make sure you have the best possible life available. So then do you also then get into issues of like NDAs and because sometimes some of the things that we hear, even as wedding planners, are things that are not to be repeated. So
absolutely.
Right?
I'm dealing with, typically, this is, not excluding anyone, but you're talking high net worth clients, affluent people, CEOs, families. Privacy is one of the core values. It's utmost important. Personally, I am a super private person. So that leads my business always. I don't discuss anything. We've been asked to sign NDAs quite often. But I never discuss, I create a safe space for my clients. It's a non-judgment zone. Your needs are your needs. They're your desires, and I'm going to make them happen because I am trying to elevate your lifestyle to create a bespoke experience. So it's not my prerogative to have judgment, think about, have an opinion. It's a safe space. Privacy is important. Nothing is repeated. I never, not even with family, not even close friends. It's not something I discuss.
You know what? It's crazy because I have the same thing. Like, we'll be talking about a wedding and then all of a sudden I get very quiet and they're like, well, what's next? I said, I can't talk to you about it. Like, yeah, but it's Thanksgiving. You're around friends. Sorry. That's just, that's a private situation and I'm not going to bring it up regardless because you just never know who knows so-and-so.
Right.
And,
and
telephone,
also
telefax, tell a family member.
So with that said, I have a question. So out of the things that you are able to talk about and without naming any names, what was the most, I would say, unusual thing that you've been requested of?
Ooh, good question. I was going to ask that. So good question.
So that then puts me in a position to say something is unusual, right?
Or a little bit like out of the box, maybe.
Yeah. How about difficult? Like what it was like one of the most difficult or challenging situations that you were like, it took me a bit, but I got it.
I think I want to stay general on this just the same. I mean, a challenging situation would be a service that I don't cover or something that I'm not able to provide, but then I would have to source and vet. Let's say it's not a vendor that I already have a relationship with, then I would have to go through the due diligence process, do a lot of research, make sure it's a reputable company, because again, it's a chain effect. If that person messes up, it comes right back to me. And my company and what we stand for. So
Wow.
keeping it, yeah, I would say that would be one of the most difficult scenarios.
It's
I
like
will
being
say,
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say another situation that can occur is I'll have a client, for example, that will be visiting, wanting to rent a villa. And they would need security, they would need housekeeping. In a case like that, sometimes if it's not in the region that I'm necessarily familiar with and I have to work with other vendors, they may say, okay, we'll provide you with security and the housekeeping. In a case like that, I would decline to have both from the same source, just as a security measure, especially if it's, again, a region that I'm not, foreign country. I want to protect my clients, and sometimes that can be a security issue because everybody's coming from the same
It
person.
could be, definitely.
It could be, and that's actually something really smart. I wouldn't have thought of that, but if they were coming from the same company, obviously there's going to be crosstalk, just because that's what people do. And in order to help limit that, sometimes it is important to get it from different companies and make sure that they focus on. And honestly, I wouldn't want to hire security from somebody that also offers like maid service, because I don't feel like the two have anything to do with each other. I want somebody that specializes in security, and I want somebody that specializes in maid service.
And also, so some countries, safety is, it's, some countries that you're visiting are not necessarily the safest places. So these are factors to consider when, again, security, privacy, the client's needs are my utmost priority at all times. Especially, I feel like I'm the mother.
I said that.
And I have to make sure that they're okay and no excuses. Some people are traveling with children. Some people have never been to the places that they're traveling. So it's a big deal to me.
And so that's more of a checks and balances, I think, when you talked about having two different companies, because you don't want one company covering for everybody if, you're basically having a second set of eyes.
Right. And it depends. I want to be very careful saying that, because you do have some vendors that, like myself, that I can provide everything, but it depends on the location. I just take these things into consideration. I'm always 10 steps ahead. Again, I always exhaust the plans to meet the client's needs, and then the what ifs, the worst case scenarios, and I take into consideration location, security, safety.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So Shauna, what's the dream? I mean, you obviously are doing what you were meant to do, because you can hear the passion, you can feel the passion, like it is coming through loud and clear. This is like if somebody brings you onto their team and says, look, I need you to take care of me, you're going to do it. You got it. No matter what it is, it's going to happen. So personally, though, what is the dream for the business? Is this something that you want to bring on, I don't know, salespeople or other people? Or is this such a personalized service that it just is like, okay, I don't know if I could trust anybody else but myself? What's the thought there?
Not to have salespeople, because I'm not selling service. It's a curated experience. To keep it as small, as intimate as possible, very detailed oriented, small team, not more than that. I think the expansion for Dolce Vita, the next level, would be to membership, which is something we're already offering to a few clients that are interested in that. So that would be the other level. I don't ever foresee getting that big that, I don't want to expand it, because then it becomes a little impersonal. I want to still have.
Exactly.
You know what? You're totally making sense, because Alan Berg, who's actually going to be at this event that you'll meet in the next couple of days at the Wedding Pro Experience, Alan Berg actually was one of those people that made a light bulb go off in my head one time when I was first beginning my business. He said, do you want to have a business that you manage other people that then plan the weddings? Or do you want the more intimate version where you have direct access to your couples? Because those are very different business models, and obviously are attracted to very different types of people. And so I hear what you're saying, that because you're like me, I want that one-on-one contact. I want to be able to call no matter who it is that's on my list that is doing business with me. I want to have that opportunity to be able to call them and be able to know they know me and that they can call me if they need me.
And actually, I have had clients that ask me specifically, again, somebody that would sign an NDA or somebody that's a high net worth client will say to me, I only want to communicate with you. I only want you to know my information. That is, again, something that I get asked. And, another thing to think of, quantity does not mean quality. And I'm not trying to, again, it's not about the money. It's not about maximizing that. It's about building these quality relationships and being able to provide the service that I've committed to offering. And so it doesn't mean that I have to have 100 clients to have a successful business either. Or
I get it. I totally get it. I love
that trust factor.
Yeah, I just love everything that you are saying about this. I mean, it is an exclusive experience for your clientele. They know that they're going to get you or somebody that is very much like you, that has, trained on, and that they're not going to get a random number that says, tell us what you need and we will direct you to the right department. That's never going to be you.
I answer my calls, all calls. Any time of the day. If my clients are traveling, I'm answering the call, even if it's 2:00. I could be on a different time zone. That's not their problem. It's mine.
So if somebody wanted to, like, they see this, they hear this, they're like, man, I need Shauna in my life. How do they do that? How do they start the process? Do they call you? Do they email you?
Any of the above. They can go on livedolcevita.com, which is our website. There is a connect, stay in touch. I believe it's a connect. You just fill your information in, send a quick email, it comes right into the inbox. We see that immediately. You can text, you can call, you can send an email. You can go on our social media, Dolce Vita Concierge, and send a message. Regardless of what platform you try to access, there will be a response. There will be a response. Yeah.
I love that. So one of the things that we, I don't know, for some reason, it's been really on the top of my brain lately. And I think it's because we've been having all these conversations about sales and customer base and et cetera. How many, do you have the experience where people reach out to you for one specific thing, and because they loved working with you so much that they say, you know what, I'm going to call her again for something else, and then again for something else, and then all of a sudden now they're a long-term customer or long-term client?
So I'll expand on that. So I work, for example, with luxury realtors that have short-term rentals, and you'll have clients that come in and they just want to get a chef. Service that need. We stay in touch somehow, and they call me a year later. Hey, I'm taking a trip, or I want to plan something, a surprise. Can you help me with this? Where do I go? I'm heading to New York for the weekend. Can you help me to find the best restaurant? I'm trying to get in, can't. These are, it can range from one service, or it could be a membership where they're ongoing, or it could be every year at the same time. I have clients that they come to the US because my business is international. So I do have clients that come to the US the same time every year, and that's the only service they need. So I cater to all. I don't limit. Again, anybody is welcome to reach out. I am happy to help if I can help. And even with wedding planners, like in your industry, I obviously don't plan weddings. However, for the bride and the groom, I can help them with their bachelorette party, their honeymoon. Some people want to have a bachelor party on a yacht, or they may need just car service to get to and from the wedding. Somebody to help with setting up, people that are moving, you name it. There's so many different facets to a concierge.
People need you in their life. Let me just put it that way.
That.
People need you in their life. That is all there is to it. It's like you're everybody's Siri.
I think about
analogy.
I think about like when you're looking for a home and you need to pack and you need to change all your services of what you have in one home to another home. It's kind of like
Oh,
the same thing, only for your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what's
yeah.
funny that you mentioned that? Because with realtors, for example, what typically happens is, let's say they sold a home to someone. Once they've moved in, especially if they're new to the area, they will, because they've built that trust with the realtor, they'll end up calling the realtor back, hey, where do I find this? Where do I find that? I need somebody to manage my property if they're a snowbird. The realtors sometimes extend that service, but it's not their niche, not their specialty. So someone like me,
Right.
working with a realtor, I can then say, hey, I manage your property management is a part of our concierge service. We can manage your property while you're traveling. If you're moving in or out, we can have someone unpack everything, pack everything. I mean, there's not, when you think of it, it's like Siri, but
It really
with
is.
physical service.
It is just,
That's
it's
a great
just such a,
analogy.
right.
I like
It's
it,
just,
actually.
it's
Thank
such
you.
a great way to just say, you know what? I don't have to call multiple people. Let me
Correct.
call Shauna. Let me call Shauna. Let me call
Right.
Shauna. Hey,
One-stop
Shauna.
shop.
Right. And then Shauna's going to be like, got it. Working on it. It's happening. I love that. I mean, I feel like that's the kind of service that almost everybody in their life like should have. I mean, I would love that for my life. Anyway, so Shauna, if people wanted to reach out to you, obviously we've been flashing your website and your Instagram on that when people are being able to watch this. But if they're listening to this, how do they reach out to you? How do they connect with you?
So you can connect with me through Instagram, or check out or follow us on Dolce Vita Concierge. Our website is livedolcevita.com. And again, you can fill out the connect with us, contact us, and it will come directly into our email. Our email address is hello@livedolcevita.com. And
Nice.
on my Instagram page, website, they're listed on there is our contact number, email address. So several places to get in touch with us. And I'm happy and willing and able to talk to anyone that would like some service.
Shauna, you have
Welcome,
been
everyone.
a doll. I have really enjoyed. I know we have really
This
enjoyed
was a
talking
really
to
great
you.
show.
It was
Thank you.
really great. I mean, you just
Thank you for
really,
having me. I really appreciate that.
I really enjoyed this. And to be honest, when I first started getting into this, I was really wondering what we were going to be talking about and how you were going to explain what you do, and you did it in a beautiful way. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I look forward to meeting you both, hopefully.
I
later today and
know.
tomorrow.
We're going to see you. Yeah, we're going to see you in a couple
How
of hours.
exciting, right? In person.
Yes.
I'm super excited. All right. For all of our listeners and watchers, we're going to call it a day for now. So everybody say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Ciao.
We'll
Thank
see you next week, Tuesday next week at the same time, same place. See y'all later.
Bye.
All right.